Hi. Hey.
Do you have a name?
We're live. Cool.
Do you have a name?
How do I turn this around?
Like that.
Like this. Okay. Hey, everybody.
Oh my god.
There we go.
That's a thing.
Hi. Welcome to Parshat Yitro.
Oh, that's why I couldn't use the
Okay, so we are going to start with a quick overview of the Parsha, and then we're going to get into a little bit more depth. So this Parsha comes in 3 sections, in case you haven't noticed. That happens a lot. Okay, so the first section is Yitro arrives with Bnei Israel at Midbar Sinai, and he sits with Moshe. Moshe welcomes him. They have a meal, and then, according to most of the commentators, he converts. And then later he gives Moshe some advice about how to do the administration of Bnei Israel. Then we have the big, major part of this Parsha, which is Matan Torah, okay, the receiving of the Torah, the giving of the Torah. And then we have the beginning of the detailed mitzvahs, which starts out with the details for the mitzvot of the Mizbeach, okay, the altar that they're going to make out of Adamah, out of dirt. Okay, so tonight what I'm going to end up focusing on is Matan Torah, okay? And the timeline of Matan Torah is actually really complicated. Knowing what happened when with Matan Torah is actually much more complicated than you think. So I'm going to be following Rashi. I'm going to follow Rashi's explanation, which holds that the order within the Torah isn't actually chronological. The order within the Torah is thematic as opposed to chronological. So I'm going to be pulling stuff from a bunch of different parshas in order to give you this order. Okay, great. So when do we get to Midbar Sinai? When do we get to Midbar Sinai? What day?
Oh, well, it's where if you're doing Shavuot is the 5th of Sivan. Ever Shavuot, 5th of Sivan, so 6th of Sivan is Shavuot.
Good.
So you have to go 50 days before that.
No, that would be when we left Egypt 50 days before that. When did we get to Midbar Sinai?
What classifies? Like we crossed the Yam Suf.
Okay, so we classed the Yam Suf, and then we were in the Midbar, but there's a special section of the Midbar that is called Midbar Sinai, which we arrived to on Rosh Chodesh, Sivan, okay, which is 6 days before Matan Torah. Wow, guys. All right.
Jewish education.
All right, so we get there on Rosh Chodesh. Nothing happens on Rosh Chodesh. We arrive, we take a breath, and, we get accommodated. Okay, on the 2nd of Sivan, we're going to start the ups and downs, okay? So Moshe is going to go up, and Hashem is going to make him an offer. The offer is, I will give the Jews the Torah, and I will make them a holy nation only if they want it. Go down and ask them. Okay? So Moshe gets the offer. He goes down to the Jews, still on the 2nd of Sivan, and they accept the offer. They say, absolutely. So on the 3rd of Sivan, Moshe goes back up. Okay, this is time number 2. We're going up. Okay, and he gives Hashem the people's answer of, yes, we're totally interested. Please give us some Torah. Okay? Hashem then explains that the way that they're going to do it is he'll appear in a cloud and talk with Moshe, and the people will see Moshe and Hashem having a conversation, and then they'll know that Moshe is Hashem's special messenger. Why does that seem weird to you? Because that's not what happens, right? Come on, day school. We all sit at the foot of Har Sinai, and we all hear Hashem speaking. We all see things, right?
All right, and then we die.
All right, and then we die. We're going to get to the dying. Okay, so what's this whole Moshe's going to go into a cloud, and Hashem's going to talk to Moshe, and we're going to see Moshe and Hashem having a conversation?
But they do have a conversation.
They definitely have a conversation. But what happens is, and it's not written mephorish in the written Torah, this we know from Rashi, is that the people rejected that. Moshe said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And they said, no, we want to hear Hashem, and we want to see Hashem. If we're going to get his Torah, we want to get the Torah. We don't want to hear it through you. So Moshe goes back up and says, hey, Hashem, they kind of want to hear it directly from you. And Hashem says, all right, that's fine, but we're going to have to purify the camp, and there's going to have to be rules here. They're only allowed to get so close to the mountain. They're not allowed to touch the mountain. They have to purify themselves for 3 days. Okay? So that's Moshe's 3rd time up. Moshe comes back down, okay? Tells the people to purify themselves, and then Moshe, on the 4th of Sivan, takes the time to write down the Torah up until that point. Okay? So all of Bereshit and the beginning of Shemot, 4th of Sivan. We're 2 days till Matan Torah, right? We've had a change of plans. We decided we're going to hear of the Torah directly from Hashem. On the 5th of Sivan, Bnei Israel hears the Torah for the first time, from Bereshit through Shemos. Okay? And then they offer up sacrifices, and that's the moment where you have the famous phrase that we all say, which is Naaseh v'nishma, which is actually not in Parshas Yitro at all, it's in Parshas Mishpatim. Told you, it's not chronological. Okay? Naaseh v'nishma. Okay? So we will do, and we will hear. Okay? We'll do it, and then we'll get it. Okay, and then on the 6th of Sivan is Matan Torah. Okay, so Matan Torah, we begin the description of Matan Torah actually in the 6th Aliyah. Okay, and in the 6th Aliyah, we have this really strange verse, which says, Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai el Rosh Har. And Hashem, Vayered, Hashem came down to Har Sinai, to the head of the mountain, to the top of the mountain. That's what it literally means. Now this verse, this pasuk, should make all of us jump up out of our seats.
He's up, down, right, left, and all around.
Right. Hashem is up, down, right, left, and all around. You went to Chabad camp? Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere. Yeah. How could Hashem come down?
Because he comes down the seven, like it's like on Rosh Hashanah, how we say, like, Hashem hu Elohim, Hashem hu Elohim. We say it 7 times because he's going up through all the 7 different layers.
Okay, but, like, it says he comes to the head of the mountain. Rashi immediately jumps up here and goes, what, is he sitting on the mountain? Can Hashem...
swinging his legs.
Right, like, it makes sense. Hashem can go up and down, and when we're talking about spiritual levels, like what you're talking about from Rosh Hashanah, like spiritual levels, we can have that, but, like, Hashem, it says literally, Hashem came down upon Har Sinai to the head of the mountain. Okay? So there's so many different commentaries on this one particular verse because it's such a strange concept. So Rabbeinu Bachaya says that at all, in no way, shape, or form is Vayered a physical going down. Vayered means revelation. Okay? Rabbeinu Bachaya says it just means revealing the spiritual to the mental. Okay? It just means that it's an appearance of something to man's intellect. So when it says when Hashem came down, it just means that it made something which was like this spiritual, unfathomable concept, something which the mind could understand. Okay, the Rambam is even more spicy about it. Okay, the Rambam says in the Moreh Nebuchim, the Guide to the Perplexed, which, by the way, it's the Guide to the Nebuchs. Come on, that's awesome. Guide to the Nebuchs. Okay. So when it pleased Hashem to grant a human being a certain degree of wisdom or prophetic inspiration, the entrance of the divine presence into a certain place is called Yeridah. Okay, when the divine presence shows up, that's called Yeridah. That's called coming down. Okay, we must not imagine that the supreme being occupies a place which we can ascend to or descend to. For that is far from what it is, and that is only what the ignorant imagine. Because Rambam. Okay, Rambam says that this is metaphorical language. Okay, it means that the divine presence is accessible. When it says Yerid, it means that the divine presence is accessible, not that it actually physically came down. Okay? There's another explanation, though, outside of these two, which blows my mind. Okay, it's based on a midrash. So, and it comes from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Okay, so the Lubavitcher Rebbe says it like this. If we know that Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov kept the whole Torah, how was there a Matan Torah? What were they getting? Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov kept the whole Torah, right? We know this. We all heard this, right? Day school. Okay. So if they kept the whole Torah, then what are we getting? How are we getting a Matan Torah?
Like they just knew that the concepts of the Torah were real and that it's how they lived. Like it was just a way of living, and for us it's rules and regulations. And
so for them it was like a lifestyle, and for us it became rules and regulations?
I thought it was that there was a different definition of they kept the whole Torah versus how we keep the Torah today.
So you're saying there was a definite, like that it was a slightly different version?
Yeah.
We had fences put up. Like it wasn't just like this is what we're doing. It was like more boundaries and like.
So you're saying that it was more boundaried and was more extensive, and we had more fences put up. Okay, so for you it was a lifestyle. For you it was a slightly different Torah, and for you it was a more expansive Torah. You got an opinion? Okay. So this is what this is what the Lubavitcher Rebbe brings, based on the Midrash. It says, the Holy One, blessed be He, said, Hashemayim Shemayim LaHashem, Ba'aretz Natan LeBnei Adam. Okay, anybody who's ever done Hallel, right? We sing this. Shemayim Shemayim LaHashem. Okay, great. Okay. Brief musical interlude. Okay. But what happens is, the Shemayim LaHashem, Ba'aretz Natan LeBnei Adam. There was a huge separation. Shemayim was here and Aretz was here. Shemayim was for Hashem, Aretz was for Bnei Adam. And what happened in Matan Torah is the Gezerah was broken. And the separation between Shemayim and Aretz broke. And all of a sudden, Shemayim could come to earth, the heavens could come to earth, and the earth could go up to the heavens. What that means is that the upper worlds and the lower worlds could connect for the very first time. Okay? And the way that the Midrash says it is amazing. It says, Hatachtonim yalu le'ilyonim, ha'ilyonim yodu letachtonim. The upper will come down to the lower will go up to the upper, v'ani matchil. And I, Hashem, I'm going to start it. I'll be the first one to cross the barrier.
Isn't that why, like, the mountain was held over our head?
The mountain was held over our head to make it obligatory, and then we accepted it again later voluntarily. It wasn't the idea of making the upper and the lower. The idea there was to create an obligation. Or, if you want a prettier explanation that doesn't sound like God's going to squish us with a mountain, it was a chuppah. Hashem held the mountain over our heads as a chuppah as we married him, which I think is like a little fluffier. Yeah. Okay, great.
I feel better now.
Okay, so what I'm saying here is the moment of Matan Torah, when it says Hashem, Vayiret Hashem, is that the spiritual and the physical suddenly could touch. Okay, that which had been kept up in the upper worlds, which is the spiritual life, and the physical world, which had been kept down here, all of a sudden had an interaction. There was a bridge. Okay? Now, there's another midrash that talks about the 7 levels of heaven, which you brought up. Okay? It says, when the Holy One, blessed be He, created this world, He wanted to dwell in the lower world as well as in the upper world. Okay? So what He did is He gave Adam one mitzvah, which was His invitation. Keep this one mitzvah and I can dwell with you. And what happened? How'd that go?
He broke it.
Great, he broke that mitzvah. So Hashem moved up one level in the heavens. Then Cain and Abel came, and Cain killed Abel, and he went up another level. And then the generation of Noah, and then the generation, until Hashem ended up in the 7th level, as far from our world as he could be. Metaphor. But then came Avram Avinu. And Avram Avinu brought him down a level. And then Yitzhak Avinu brought him down another. Rabbeinu, lowest part. He was right there. Right? I am Hashem, who took you out of Egypt. He crossed the barrier and was able to come into our world. And Hashem actually, right after Har Sinai, and we asked for Hashem, what is that dwelling made of? Physicality and spirituality all blended. So Matan Torah banished this decree that means, okay? The revolution of Sinai was that spirituality could be, physicality could become spirituality. Okay? What happened was before, when Avraham, Yitzhak, and changed their spiritual reality, okay, it elevated their souls. It made them a higher person, and it changed the spiritual reality. But the physical didn't become holy. That only, we could take a piece of cow and paint it black and stick pieces of paper inside of it. And when it becomes tefillin, it actually has kedusha. Where are we going with that? We can take flour and water and salt, and we can mix it together. But when it becomes challah, it actually has kedusha. That's actually holy. In a real sense, we can take up wine, and when we say something over, we change the reality. The physical can actually become spiritual. Spiritual upper levels, it's right down here in our world. Okay? Paper can become a mezuzah. These materials in the desert, an animal, when sacrificed, can bring you closer to God. The physical and the spiritual. of people who are just people can actually end up becoming a goy kadosh. That's what Hashem offers her as a priest and a holy kadosh. You will actually become kedusha in a certain form, something that was never possible. Okay? He bridges this great divide. And you can actually see this in so many different things that happen in Matan Torah. In Matan Torah, the whole world went silent. The birds stopped chirping, the water stopped rushing, the angels stopped singing, and all of a sudden everything was silent. Because the physical world and the spiritual world were in absolute shock. Because all of a sudden there wasn't a separation anymore. The angels couldn't believe that men were going to be able to get mitzvahs, and creation couldn't believe that it was going to be elevated. It was a moment of absolute shock. When the children of, it's really also interesting, you also have heard your whole life that Bnei Yisrael were standing there and they saw the voices, right? They saw sound.
Mm-hmm.
They saw the kolot.
Yeah.
What does that mean? How can you see sound? Sight represents the physical world. I can see something. Sound represents the spiritual world. You can't see it. You can't hold it. You can't claim it. It's something that only exists out there. When you can see sound, it means that the physical, the spiritual, is becoming physical. That which I can't hold, that which I can't see, all of a sudden becomes something I can actually get my eyes on. The spiritual can come all the way down. Okay? And this is also what we see is when the first time we interact with it as, Bnei Israel, Hashem's like, hey guys, guess what? Remember that one time when you asked me to get the Torah? Okay, here we go. No, hey. Boom, all of our souls fly up out of our bodies. We couldn't handle it. The spiritual and the physical were like, whoa, no. Whoa, too much. And Hashem was like, okay, wait. Put your souls back in your body. Put your souls back in your body. Here we go, guys, back in the bodies. Hashem! Boom, out of the body. He's like, okay, guys, back in the body. You asked for this. You asked to hear me. We got through 2 commandments, and then we were like, and we're done. Thank you, Moshe, please take the rest of them. Because it was, we wanted to see Hashem. We wanted to have that spiritual, physical break, but it was overwhelming.
Why can't I get Moshe, how he's like above and beyond this, but like, if Hashem's purposely giving it to us in that fathom way, then he also make it so that we could live through.
That wasn't the plan. We asked for it. His plan was like for us to see Moshe, go into the cloud, know that he was the designed one, and that was it.
Okay.
We're the ones who were like, we want to see God. We want to hear God. We want to do a first-hand sitch. And that's when God's like, okay, guys, purify yourselves. Take 3 days to prep for this. And it was still too much for us. It was just overwhelming. And it also explains to us what a high level Moshe was on. Okay. So the revelation and the revolution at Sinai was allowing the spiritual and the physical to intermingle. The mitzvot suddenly became an opportunity to unite the upper and lower worlds. Matan Torah was the giving of the world a new reality. But here's the thing, and this is where we can bring it into a little more of the real level. Every single morning when we wake up, and we thank God and we say a blessing over the Torah, we say, Hanoten HaTorah, which is, for those of you who are in grammar class with me, the giver of the Torah, and it's in the participle form. Present tense. Can also be present progressive. The giving of the Torah. Constant. Continual.
I don't know if that's Sephardi versus Ashki. Ashki, I think, says Noten HaTorah.
Noten HaTorah. Okay, we've got Hanoten HaTorah.
Yeah.
Okay, so either way, it's Noten, not Natan. Noten is present tense.
Right.
He gives. Natan is past tense, he gave. Hashem didn't give the Torah. Hashem is giving the Torah. So every single day, Hashem is once again giving us that mountain opportunity. He's once again giving us all of those mitzvot to make the spiritual physical barrier non-existent. Every single day, our mitzvot are bringing us as a bridge between the spiritual and the physical. And they're letting Hashem come down and live with us. It's the bridge that Hashem walks into our world in. All he wants to do is dwell here among us, but we have to create a space for him. The mitzvot are that way to build that bridge. A famous Rebbe said, where is Hashem? Wherever you let him in. Har Sinai was the ultimate mountaintop experience. But every single day, we have that same opportunity. He's giving us that opportunity to bring the spiritual and the physical together in every single morning that we wake up. Those brachot over your food aren't just, oh, I have to do this because I got the Torah and I said na'aseh v'nishma. What you don't understand is the bracha that you make over your food actually changes the spiritual reality in the physical world. That food is different now. And you are different, and it will do different things to you now. Every single mitzvah is an opportunity for us to connect the physical and the spiritual. It means that our mitzvahs are in a certain way higher than even Avraham Avinu's. There's a really good metaphor to this. Sinai was like when a dad takes his son mountain climbing for the first time, and they climb up to the very top of a peak where heaven reaches earth. And you see this amazing, beautiful view. And then the dad and the son hike down the mountain. And then the dad looks back at the son and says, you can have this view anytime you want. You just have to climb the mountain. That moment of heaven and earth together is there for us anytime we access it. Anytime we remember that Hashem is giving that to us today as well. We have this idea in our heads that our spiritual experiences are only what we define it. I went to the hotel and it was in the rain and there was no one there and I just I touched the wall and it was still warm and I just felt Hashem. Or I was at the shir and oh my gosh, the Rebbe was just speaking into my soul and I just had a spiritual experience. Or I was at camp, or I was on this blah blah blah, or I did the da da da. We think that when we feel this woohoo, that's the mountaintop. That's not it. Physicality and spirituality together is it. What you're doing is you're riding a spiritual wave. You're jumping up into the Ilyonim. Jumping up into the upper levels, which is great, and you should, and that's your neshama's right. But what the actual mountaintop experience that should take your breath away is when you do the mitzvahs day to day. And what you don't realize is that you hand that coin to the person who needs it, and everything just changed. That coin actually became Kedusha. You just created holiness in this world, and more of God is able to come down because you did that. You've actually changed the spiritual reality of our world. That coin will never be the same again. You will never be the same again. It's not just that crying moment at the kotel. It's every single mitzvah you do if you tap in. If you realize that you are creating a space for Hashem in this world in every single mitzvah you do. And right now we don't see it. Right now, we don't see the voices. Right now, it's a little bit hidden. But soon enough, it'll be revealed. And all of this will be pulled away, and we will see where the world above and the world below are touching all the time. We will see all of those coins and all of those mezuzahs and all of those things where we took the physical and elevated them and what that did to the rest of the world. And how each and every single one of those acts brought us closer to the revelation of Hashem in our world. Him not just dwelling with us, but being revealed with us. So I bless you all that this week and this coming Shabbos, that every mitzvah you do should have a spiritual high because you are moving the worlds. You think that Asher Yatzar is just oh, whatever, I just said the potty box.